Youth Cup, Darragh, comes around quick, doesn't it? Sheffield United away, our first taste, our first tie in this competition. How big a challenge will that be?
Yeah, look, by the bits of information we've seen on them, they're going very well in their league, quite strong. Obviously, we don't come up against them in our league programme, so on first look, it looks like a tough draw. They're a strong team with a big history of producing players like us as well. So, we're under no illusions. It's going to be a really tough game, but one that we're really relishing and one that we think we can hopefully go there and put on a really good show and hopefully come out with a positive result on the night.
Just how much do you value these games? I think tough ties last year, and again a match like this. How valuable are they for you and the players?
Yeah, look, I think what Youth Cup does is it draws a bit more of a spotlight on the under-18s fixtures and the under-18s games, which we don't have when we play on a Saturday morning. It brings an added pressure to the players in terms of how the game is perceived from the outside. But I think the important thing is ultimately, as members of staff and the message to the players is ultimately the expectations are the same whether we're playing a friendly match on a Tuesday or whether we're playing in the Youth Cup. What we expect on the level of performance doesn't change. So, we'd just be approaching it like any other game, trying to implement our style and hopefully coming out on top on the night.
How big a challenge is it to get the players to approach it in the same way? Because there is a different feel to it. They're at a massive stadium, aren't they? A great opportunity for them to showcase themselves. How do you try and get them to do the same things they would do for every game, yet admit that it has got that different feel to it?
Yeah, it's got a different feel, and ultimately we're trying to prepare them for a career in a game which is high pressured, where they're playing in front of crowds, where they're going to come up against lots of abuse from the side, and that won't happen at youth team level. But ultimately what we're trying to prepare them for is a really tough career and a tough environment. So the Youth Cup gives them a small little taste of that. Some of the boys have experienced similar moments to that in the under-21s fixture programme this year, which will hopefully stand them in good stead. So I don't see them being overawed by the occasion or anything like that, because a lot of them have experienced playing in the under-21s in stadiums and in big cup games.
There's been a shift this year. We've seen lads going out on loan from the 21s, which invariably seems to push the younger lads into those games and those situations. How valuable is that for them at this stage in their career?
Well, listen, I think a few of the under-18s boys have been out on loan as well and experienced men's football, and that is very much part of the strategy going forward. Is we want them to experience that real experience of football, which sometimes is difficult to replicate on a Saturday morning. That winning mentality, that you're playing with a bunch of guys who they have to win to get their win bonus and stuff like that, and that is ultimately the environment we're trying to create, trying to prepare them for, which we can't really give them sometimes on our own. So I think loan opportunities have been really positive for the boys who've experienced it. And if nothing else, when they come back, they realise what a brilliant environment they have here, and hopefully they relish it even more and try and utilise all of the great resources they have here when they come back.
When you are losing lads going out on loan, albeit a positive, and they're going up to the 21s at times, how challenging does that make the work you're doing on a week-by-week basis and sort of sum up the season so far?
Listen, it can be, and sometimes on your Saturday, I think in under-18s, you very rarely put the same team out 2 weeks in a row. There's obviously an obligation to try and get boys game time. So you would see our squad would change on a week-by-week basis. Some weeks we might have everyone available. Some weeks we might only have half the squad available. And that can be the challenge of being the under-18s coach. But I think most clubs are probably in a similar predicament. I think ultimately as a club, what we want to do is create an environment where the boys get high challenge in the games programme. Sometimes that might be playing in the 21s games, and sometimes it might be in the under-18s games programme. But listen, we're under no illusions. We want to win every game we play. We want to put real competitive teams out, but there's some games where we'll be younger maybe than other weeks, and as long as the performance levels are where we need them to be, then sometimes the result isn't always the only factor that matters.
I'm sure for a game like this you'd want your best available group of players. At what point do you find out whether that might be the case? I think Igor can still, for example, play who's had a terrific calendar year, hasn't he?
Yeah. Look, there's a few boys who've not featured at all in the under-18s games programme this year, which I'm sure if the first team schedule or their loan clubs dictate, I'm sure hopefully we'll be able to get them back and ready to play for us on that night, because it is something we put a lot of emphasis on and trying to be as strong as we can be in the Youth Cup.